Hello, and thank you for joining us on Hello, Mayor. I'm City of Las Vegas Mayor Carolyn Goodman. The Smith Center has become the crown jewel of the desert, as you all know. It ranks among the performing arts centers of the world, and we are so proud to call it our own. And with me today, coming back after a little hiatus, it's wonderful, founding president, CEO, master of the world, Myron Martin. Hi, Myron.
Hello, Mayor.
I can't believe this time has gone by, and it's been 12 years since we had the opening.
12 and a half years since opening, 20 plus years since we first started having this dream in the desert.
Well, you know, unfortunately for me, after 62 years, I'm married to this wonderful man who inherited, as he became mayor, the downtown, which was very deteriorated and totally lacking in culture, which I know drives your windows and everything else that you have. And so where were you in the early 2000s? When did you come to Las Vegas? And a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I came here 25 years ago to take over the foundation for a former client of mine named Liberace. So I ran the Liberace Foundation for a number of years. And while I was doing that, I was called to UNLV to help them with their Performing Arts Center, and did that for a bit.
And that was the only one we had, except little boutiques around.
Well, and thank goodness for UNLV for what they did for this community during that period, because, you know, you think back to those days, they brought the New York Philharmonic, and they brought ballet companies, and they brought wonderful performers. Yes, to Las Vegas at a time when we didn't have a lot of opportunities for those things. So I was there, and Don Snyder and Keith Bowman and a group of people called and said, you know, we're the largest community in North America without a world-class performing arts center. Would you help us change that?
Wow. And go even further back before you came to UNLV. Where you born and raised? What's your educational background? Are you in performing arts? Were you yourself?
Yeah, I was a kid in Houston, Texas, who in the 4th grade was inspired by the Performing Arts Center by going on a field trip in a yellow school bus.
Isn't that so?
And that's why it's so important for me to have those yellow school buses pull up in front of the Smith Center. I went on to win talent shows in the junior high and the high school, and went on to study music at one of the big colleges of music in the country.
Any particular genre or any particular discipline?
Well, I was a pianist and a singer, and I had a love for jazz in those days. So I did that, finished college, and was hired by the Baldwin Piano Company.
Oh, of course, we all know
Yeah,
that.
of course. And I moved to New York City, and for about 20 years ran the concert and artist division for the company in New York, where I was the guy that would sign up people like Billy Joel and Bruce Hornsby and Dave Brubeck.
So you were definitely on the performing arts side, not on the side of selling pianos. And
I was on the performing arts side, but I was clearly in the business of the pianos, because my job was to get them on television and to promote the pianos.
And had you met Liberace at that time?
Yeah, he had been our Baldwin artist and our client for many years, and
so it was natural you would come here.
Yes,
you know, I think what you said though, the 4th grade, we have no idea when a passion comes alive in a child that directs their entire lives, and elementary school is so important to their futures.
It's the truth, and you ask anybody at the Smith Center what their best days are, and they will all say something about yellow school buses and watching the kids get off of that bus and walk into our lobby for the very first time and realize that they've gone someplace special.
And really the excitement, because the mayor's office oversees the Smith Center, and so I can see those yellow buses line up. The only thing would be better is we get an entire train, because I also look over the rail tracks and have them. But tell us a little bit about the background. I mean, Don Snyder was on the recruitment for UNLV to bring you, and that marriage sort of started then?
No, the marriage with Don and I, and of course, you ask him, we've been locked at the hip for these
Yes.
25 years. We finish each other's sentences. He's been an extraordinary partner for me. And by the way, one of the things that we share in common is the part of my background I didn't talk about is that with Baldwin, I spent some time in San Francisco, and there I got my MBA, my Master's of Business Administration at Golden Gate University. And so Don and I always talked about the Smith Center being a business. And so we have always run this place like a business.
I think when you say that, I go back to the days of when Oscar first became mayor and the deterioration. But talking to people and throughout life, you have a vision. And you can't, since we moved here and it was really such a small population, you can't have a world-class city if you don't have culture. And it was so missing here, except what was going on at the university and certain little children theaters here and there. But there was such a thirst for this entire cultural undertaking. And I remember at the time in the heart of the city, which is where you normally, like at Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center in New York, where I grew up, the heart of the city is where you have this. And so there was nothing here except the brownfield owned and run by the Union Pacific, polluted. And I know as you and Don and Oscar and the rest of the team began to tour, what was the key, do you think, or maybe it's just the snap of the fingers, to locate down here rather than outside? Because you were being courted to have the Performing Arts Center somewhere else.
We were being courted, but to be fair, there were two groups of people both wanting to build a Performing Arts Center in Las Vegas. The other group believed it should be in the suburbs. We believed that it needed to be in the heart of the city. And that's partly because of our friend Oscar.
Yeah.
And when the city started studying what they would do with the 61 acres that we now call Symphony Park, that's when it gelled. That's when we knew that that was going to be our home, despite efforts to put it in the suburbs and to put it in other places.
Right.
To be the focal point, the impetus for development in downtown Las Vegas by building a world-class performing arts center made perfect sense. And Symphony Park made the most sense of all places, and it's worked out really well.
Well, and the excitement of it is we knew as roads were coming together, interstate highways and roads, the roads come together in the heart of the downtown area. And of course, as it was then, but has developed even more so, it's a center of government. It's the center, our court system. It's the medical center, our county only public hospital. And that is growing so. And of course, we have the Cleveland Clinic Louruvo Institute that's taken root. But really, it did just all start on that acreage of what has become Symphony Park. Tell us a little bit about what are you proudest of? I mean, looking at this as a business, and I mean, to me, that's critical because so many undertakings are not run with a business eye. So how is your backing grown? How is your ability to attract traveling companies coming through? And you are the home of the ballet, the Nevada Ballet Theater, and our Philharmonic.
Yes, the Las Vegas Philharmonic.
What would you like to add to that group?
Well, so if you go all the way back to opening night, you have to start with Neil Patrick Harris as host and Jennifer Hudson and Carol King and that amazing evening that aired nationally on PBS and was so successful it re-aired nationally on PBS.
Wow.
Showcasing our city in a new way. People started thinking of Las Vegas differently because of that opening night. And ever since opening night, shows have sold out. People love coming to the Smith Center. We've worked really, really hard to keep our ticket prices affordable because we know that our audience are made up of school teachers and firemen and police officers
So important.
and people who live here. You know, the building is gorgeous,
Yes,
right?
it
There's
is.
no doubt about it. David Shore's design is amazing. And so people think, oh, that's kind of fancy. It must be for fancy people. The Smith Center is for every man. And Mayor, as you know, the Tim Bavington sculpture out in the
Isn't
middle
that
of the
amazing?
park was based on the musical piece Fanfare for the Common Man, because that's who our audience is, that's who our friends and neighbors are, and those are the people that we love seeing at the Smith Center.
Well, and it is part of what this community too is about. And I think the excitement is every time you have something else happening there. You do have Myron's
Yes,
area.
just Myron's
And
at the Smith Center.
And are there performances held in there? And how many does that seat when you fill it with seats, not tables?
Well, because of it being a jazz club, there are
Right.
always tables.
Okay.
Because we want you
Oh.
to be able to have a cocktail and a snack and enjoy the show. In total, we're doing between 400 and 500 performances a year at the Smith Center, almost half of which happen in Myron's. So almost every night there's something going on in there. Touring attractions, the biggest names from Broadway, and the biggest names in Las Vegas. You know, Clint Holmes calls it his home, and Frankie
Yes.
Marino, and the Lon Bronson Band, and the band that plays for the Raiders at Allegiant Stadium play at our place every month or two. So it's a great place. It's a little bit like seeing your favorite band in your living room.
Well, and you are now, this is year 13, and I remember everything that opened, the vision of the prior council and the mayor and so many people. I got to open them all. So that opening was so incredibly spectacular. And the dream of having the traveling groups. Tell us a little bit about some of the theater that comes through, ballets, performance, that are going to shows. What do we have coming up this year?
Well, so
Oh.
I happen to have this year's Broadway Las Vegas series sponsored by Toyota that we have coming up this coming year. Mrs. Doubtfire.
Ooh.
Company, the amazing Stephen Sondheim musical. The Cher Show. What city better than Las Vegas to feature the
Absolutely.
Cher Show on our stages? Back to the Future, the musical, is coming
I haven't
next season,
seen that.
which is wonderful. Shrek, the musical, will be here during the Thanksgiving week. You know, we always try to have a big Broadway show that's family friendly during that week.
Absolutely.
And Shrek, the musical, is as family friendly as you can get. Kimberly Akimbo, which just won some Tony Awards last year. The Wiz.
Now, you've
Mayor.
had The Wiz before.
We've never had The Wiz before. It has never toured since we've been open. And more importantly, when I was a junior in high school, I saw the original cast of The Wiz on Broadway. I have a very special place in my heart for this show and the music from this show because I played the soundtrack over and over
if
and
you
over.
play anyway.
Yes, exactly. So The Wiz is
How
coming.
did they call you about bringing it here, or is that a proactive act on your part
It
that
happens.
you have to?
It happens both ways. I leave for New York tomorrow, and I see the last 7 shows that I haven't seen this season in time to fill out my Tony Awards ballot. And I will tell you, there are times as I am leaving the theater that I'm already on the phone with the agent saying, we have to start this tour. The Las Vegas has to be part of the first national tour because we know.
Why did I think they had already been through here?
Well, so The Wiz was on Broadway in 1973 and 1974,
Okay.
and it's not been on Broadway since. There have been some local productions around the country, but this is the
that's
first big
probably
national
the
tour,
tour.
and it's really, really, really well done. And
How
so,
many in that company will be coming through here?
the entire cast will be here. And by the way, we don't talk about this enough. Every time a Broadway cast or any of these big shows come to town, these are people who fly here. They take local transportation. They stay in our hotels. They eat in our restaurants. These are 1,000 or more people a year who who love coming to Las Vegas, performing at the Smith Center, but they're spending money here as well.
And do they take care of their transportation, moving people? Do they block rooms in a particular hotel? Would they be more likely to stay downtown, or did they stay anywhere?
Well, it depends.
Well, let's take this one.
So a lot of the Broadway shows, because Actors Equity has requirements like if they're there for a week or longer, and they're always here for a week or longer,
Right.
That they have to have a little kitchenette and they have to have certain amenities, because these people are on the road. You know, they just want to wake up and have a cup of coffee without having
Now,
to.
have you been talking with our new apartments here, and are
Absolutely. And our new hotel, which is going to open a year and a half across the street from us,
Right.
about many of our folks staying there. People who come in for a day or two obviously stay in regular hotels.
Right.
I should tell you that one of our primary sponsors for Myron's is the Downtown Grand.
Oh, I love it.
And so a lot of our folks stay there. They stay in all the downtown hotels,
Well, and
of
it's
course.
walkable. Everything's walkable here. So
Yes.
that, and of course, as you say, when AC Marriott opens, that's going to be heaven on earth.
It
for
will be
them.
great for them and for us.
Okay, so keep
and
going.
so
What
three
else?
three more shows next season.
Okay.
We get our third return of Hamilton.
Oh,
So
we love
Hamilton's
it.
coming back again, and it's a crowd favorite. Parade, which we have never seen before.
Wow.
An extraordinary new Broadway musical that won lots of
Who wrote
awards.
that? Do you recall?
Yeah, of course I do, and it's only because you asked me that it's not in my head, but I'll get back to you.
Okay.
And then lastly, a new show called And Juliet. And
Yes,
Juliet,
Juliet.
which imagines the Romeo and Juliet story in
Still.
a different way.
Okay.
And it's extraordinary, and it's told with pop music. It's told with songs that we've all heard on the radio in the last decade or two. And it's beautiful. It's an incredible young cast, and that will finish our season next year. By the way, the first half of these shows go on sale like today,
And
so
so
people
how do
can buy
people-
single tickets. You
Just
just
go
go to
on
the smithcenter.com and you pick your show. Here's the thing that folks should know. Our season ticket holders, people who come to all of the shows for Broadway, commit first.
Okay.
And over 11,000 season ticket holders have just recently recommitted. Now you take a Broadway week, 2,000 seats in the Smith Center times 8 performances a week, that's 16,000 available seats, minus the 11,000 that our season ticket holders have already claimed.
Right.
When we go on sale for single tickets, we only have 5,000 seats for the entire week available to sell because of the success of the season
All right,
ticket
now
holders.
those boxes, are those all reserved, or are they still available during season per show?
Yeah, per show, our people who gave us major contributions to put their name on a box have first dibs
Okay.
to purchase those seats. When they don't come, and of course, not everyone can come to 400 or 500 shows a year.
course.
So they don't come to everything. We release those seats to the public. So yes, there are times when people can buy the entire 8 seats in a box, or 1 or 2 of them at a time, and have that great experience.
So you started right off talking about the business end of this. With those tickets sold on those shows, which isn't every day of the year, but you do your best to have your full season. How much do you rely on contributions because they're passionate to see, and I think Oscar and I every year have supported.
You have.
And because we believe in just the basic need for the major cultural contribution.
Ticket revenues only total 70% of our expenses.
Well,
Think about
I
it.
know, but I think that's remarkable. As much, I mean, to me, as a business, 70% is covered by that.
Yes, but most places assume that their revenue source, in our case,
Right.
ticket sales, would more than cover their expenses.
Is that
We
true
only
in
cover-
New York or somewhere?
It's not true in commercial theaters. It's true in other nonprofits around the
Okay.
country. Because again, when we had this conversation 20 years ago, it was about doing good for the community.
Right.
So 70% of our ticket revenue is there to cover, or our ticket revenue is there to cover 70% of our operations. That means that your contribution and Oscar's contribution every year helps us get to 100%, which is only break even.
Okay.
As a nonprofit, our goal is to get to break even. And Mayor, I have to tell you, the number of people who say at the end of the year we're going to write a little check because they can,
yes,
or I'm buying some tickets, please add $10 to it, to my ticket purchase as a donation, because everyone pitches in a little bit. And that means we can do all those educational programs, we can bring all those school buses here, we can do all the things that we send teaching artists out into the schools. It covers all of those costs. So I can't thank you enough for asking the question about donations.
Does the state contribute? Does the county, do the cities, the municipalities contribute? And if not, because maybe it's prohibited, not at the state level, but...
So Mayor, if you remember, the city, the county, and the state all made it possible for the Smith Center to exist. There are many cities where the Performing Arts Center counts on the city or the county to help fund their operations. We never made that part of our model. We've never come to you or Oscar or City Council and said, we want you to fund our operation. We've never asked.
That
because
is incredible.
We like our approach that each of us can contribute just a little bit to make it possible.
It's so important. And the affordability of the seats. I mean, really, when you travel around the country and you attend some performance somewhere, the cost of the seats just not go up, skyrocket. And so what's happening, but there are other parts of the theater, the entire Smith Center. How do you keep it fresh, upgraded, your furnishing fixtures, your painting, your cushioning on your seats? Where is that coming from?
Well, we have this amazing team that keeps a careful eye on all of it. Remember, not only did we have David Schwartz as our architect, but we had Roger Thomas on our board of directors, who has this keen eye for perfection. And when we were designing in a way that we wanted materials that would last. Remember, David Schwartz said, I came to town and I didn't quite know how to base the architecture in the beginning. And it was the Hoover Dam that finally inspired him, a building that's there and will be there for generations. And listen, we very quietly in the background recover furniture. And right now, as we speak, new carpeting is on order from England. Axminster company that did the original carpet is redoing it for us. That'll get replaced.
Isn't that wonderful that they're still in business? So many places have closed, but that is unbelievable. The whole carpet in the
entire Smith Center gets recarpeted late this summer. We're doing lots of things. We've replaced the audio equipment. We're looking at something right now that I told you about yesterday, and that's lighting the top of the bell tower, so that people don't know this, but the mayor calls me every once in a while, and she says, "Well, can't you turn the top of the bell tower red because it's Red Day or whatever, or it's purple because it's Autism Awareness Week? Can't you just change the color?" And the answer's been no. Because when we built the Smith Center, the kind of color-changing LED lights that are popular today didn't exist.
Of course.
So we have hired the company that designed the lights for the Empire State Building, and we've asked them to tell us what the top of the tower might look like if it could change colors. And
so
we're working
are you having a special capital campaign for that?
It could be as much as $2 million to do this little lighting project.
Wow!
And no, we've not asked anyone to fund it yet. But my phone line is open for anyone who might be interested.
Now tell us about the bell tower and the music and when people ask me, does that have any music coming out? And I said, well, while I can look at it every single hour of the day from my office, the windows are sealed, so I have no idea.
So when I say it's musical, the design of the Carolyn Tower,
Yes.
the bell tower, was to include bells.
Yes.
The tallest of which is 6 feet tall, 5 feet wide. It weighs something like 6,000 pounds. It's a low C for those taking
Okay.
note. 4 octaves of bells. So yes, we can play music on those bells that are clanging and clinging the old-fashioned way, controlled with a keyboard or a computer. And from time to time, we will do something in honor of a bride that's getting married in the building. Beautiful. Or a special occasion.
All right, now tell me about water consumption. We have that magnificent park in front with the Babington
Yes.
sculpture, and everybody, all these apartments and condominiums that are being built in Symphony Park. We see that big piece, beautiful area. Are you being hounded by the water district yet?
Well, I wouldn't say we're being hounded. They do a very good job of,
Yes.
of helping us understand what it's like to conserve. And the
But
truth
that is used for so many parties, so many gatherings as natural turf.
that's why the early decision was, let's have real grass. And the Water Authority was there with us. They understood. They said if there are few exceptions to their rules of trying not to use grass. They felt this would probably be an exception. Now, we've been open for 12 and a half years, and we get the water bill for trying to keep that acre of grass watered. And we're starting to believe that the Water Authority is right and that we should do something different than grass. You're right. We have events out there. We have dinner parties out there. We do lots of things. But there's nothing that says there needs to be real grass. And so we're looking at that right now.
Well, and I think as you know, out there in the public and visitors too, it is a remarkable place. We've sadly already run out of time, just like before. I love this man. I love everything he's undertaken for us, because the Cultural Center, the Smith Center, Fred and Mary, and representing the Reynolds Foundation, of course, Dr. Bowman as well was on that board. It is the jewel. It is. You said it's the living room, but it is the diamond, really. And everybody comes to the center of our Southern Nevada community, which is the heart of culture and government and business and health.
Mayor, I can't leave here without thanking you publicly for all you've done for the city, and especially for your contributions. They're significant.
You know how
love
lucky
for the
Oscar
Smith
and
Center.
I have been. You know that your life becomes enriched. You feel good because you've created something, and it's because of you, the Smith Center, Don. There's so many people. But to look out or drive around down here, it's absolutely spectacular. And for everybody at home that's been watching or may watch it again, and you see it with Myron right now, we just want you to scan to know what's going on in our fabulous city. Be sure to scan our QR code on the screen to subscribe to our newsletter. And we'll see you for a next wonderful Hello Mayor, if I can squeeze in one or two more before I'm termed out.